freuen wir uns natürlich ganz besonders drauf, auch in der Liga der Supersportwagen.
Tell me this wasn't live.
It's really fun.
And will be heading over to Jackson Evans after the pit stop during this race. So the drivers currently getting suited and booted and will be climbing aboard their machines. There's a car that is familiar to anybody who has followed GT Masters over the last couple of years. The team used by Race Motion Porsche, but a name that is unfamiliar to many, Finn Gersitz, who stepped into that car fairly short notice at Hockenheim. He has a very experienced mentor in Sven Muller, who is his co-driver, but Finn Gersitz, who has come from prototype racing and very much used to a lot more downforce in his racing car, has taken to ADAC GT Masters in fine style. So much so, they won the last race out, race 2 of the season, the race 2 at Hockenheim back in June. The negative for him about that is it means he's got to carry around an extra 20 kilos because success penalty is awarded to a race winner. It's 20 kilos for the race winner. Second place adds 10 kilos and third place adds 5. Alain Valente in the number 2 car, who finished 9th at Hockenheim last time out, is sharing with Ralph Aron. And there'll be a euro donated to charity every time I call him Paul Aron. So Ralph Aron in the car sharing with Alain Valente, another driver that we have seen team doing the rounds in GT3 racing. A lot of potential that probably wasn't realised. A very experienced team, the only team that have got 2 cars on the grid for the GT Masters this year, and that is Haupt Racing Team HRT. The number 10 car with Igor Valilko at the wheel, and he is sharing with Kim Louis Schramm. Now, Kim Louis Schramm we're used to seeing in an Audi, and he's taken to the BMW, really like the proverbial duck to water. He was very rapid indeed, was Kim Louis Schramm. Along with Igor Valilko, they got a 4th place and an 8th place at Hockenheim, but they are definitely a duo to watch. Before the drivers get in the cars, before we get going, it's time for me to introduce a man who sat alongside me. He's already burnt himself out shouting about DTM. Can we cope with another hour of action around the Norisring, Dave Richardson?
Do you know what? Here at the Norisring, you cannot bring enough, can you? You cannot have enough on-track action as we look at Petro Umberescu. It's just a fascinating circuit. I have extolled the virtues of this place for so many years. I've been coming here for about, I don't know how many years, probably best not to mention it. But I've always loved the place, and it never fails to disappoint, Brian. And I think you, and we're delighted that you are here. It's your first visit to the Norisring, and it is something very special, isn't it?
It's spectacular, a really unusual, very short circuit. We're looking at Petro Umberescu there, by the way, who is sharing with a driver familiar to many, Maxi Gertz, the other driver who is going to be driving the HRT Mercedes, the number 3 car. It was Arjun Maini the last time out at Hockenheim, but Arjun's not allowed to race this weekend as a result of the fact that he's also racing in DTM. There we see the Team Engstler, Liqui Moly Team Engstler Audi, to give it its full title. And the driver who's at the wheel of that, a South African who said to me, I want to be even bigger than the Van der Linde brothers. Well, those are big shoes to fill. Kwanda Mokoena, if you could win a race on enthusiasm alone, he would be champion by now. He is absolutely buzzing, and he is loving his time in ADAC GT Masters. Eduardo Cossetang for Schubert Motorsport, he is driving alongside Ben Green. Of course, Ben Green, last year's junior champion in ADAC GT Masters and a 2-times winner in the Schubert Motorsport BMW. Eduardo Cossetang learning street circuits for the very first time. It's a tough circuit to learn. You can't get it wrong around here, can you?
No, you can't, because the place is full of very, very unforgiving barriers and Armco and concrete, and that doesn't bend in quite the same way as a car does if you come across it. So yes, you're absolutely right. There are street circuits, and there are street circuits. And I have to say, I believe this is one of the toughest.
It is also the shortest. We've already seen the track facts, 2.3 kilometers around, and it is almost an oval. It is 2 hairpins joined by 2 straights, and but for the Schuller curve, that's a good pronunciation, the chicane halfway down the back straight, awful pronunciation, it would be an oval. And with the barriers around, it's like watching NASCAR around here, it has to be said. The car's incredibly fast, but no room for error. A massive crowd in, enjoying the hot sunshine, 31.6 degrees centigrade, as we await for the instruction to be given for the engines to start. Of course, the GT Masters cars lined up as is traditional Le Mans style. Thumbs up. I feel like I should know who that is, but with the sunglasses and that, he's incognito. Drivers, start your engines. We are getting ready for race 3 of this 12-race season here at the Norisring. And under the sunny skies, a track temperature of 35.6. There's a bit of cloud around, but we are not expecting any rain. And there is Kwanda Mokoena, who is buzzing. He said, when I spoke to him this morning, he said, I thought I was getting close to the barriers, and then I followed another car and I realised I was nowhere near the barriers and I need to get closer if I want to get quicker. Benjamin Heites, you know of Benjamin Heites, don't you, Dave, for GRT Grasser?
Great racing driver. I met him a few years ago when he was racing in North America, and he was undoubtedly a talented driver, and there's nothing that I've seen that would take that away from my feeling of him. And he's been coached by some great guys as we look at Tim Zimmerman, another very, very good driver, driving, of course, for Uber Racing. And the cars then leaving their positions parked out there on the grid. ADAC GT Masters race 1 of 2 this weekend here in the cauldron of Norisring, and it feels like a blooming cauldron today. I've just popped outside of our studio, and trust me, how the tyres are not going to melt on that tarmac is beyond me.
So the cars start on their formation lap. Let's have a look at the starting grid that came out of this morning's qualifying session. On pole position, Salman Vega, his first pole position in GT Masters, alongside Janis Fischer for Huber Motorsport, not to be confused with Huber Racing, who are on row 2, but on the inside of them is Benjamin Heites. Tim Zimmerman is the car on the outside. Finn Gerstitz, good job from him, alongside Alan Valente is Porsche, alongside Mercedes, and on row 4, Igor Velilko has Petru Umberesco for company, BMW and Mercedes. On row 5, back row of the grid, is Kwanda Mokoeno learning quickly, and Eduardo Cosateng. As I said already, not the biggest field we've ever seen. You only need 2 cars for a good race, it has to be said. And around here, 10 cars is plenty enough. We're at the Nürburgring next weekend. We will have a much bigger grid at the Nürburgring, but enjoy this in the sunshine. Now, in the DTM race that's happened earlier, we did have 2 formation laps, and we have notification that is going to happen again because the lap is so short. Really important to get heat into the tyres and into the brakes.
The preparation for the start is absolutely critical, you're quite right, and that's why there is this extra formation lap for the drivers. It is such a short circuit. There, confirmation of that extra formation lap on race control that you can see right now, and that is the reason that there are 2 formation laps. It gives the drivers just the opportunity to get their eye in and to try and drive some temperature into those tyres as well.
Salman Vega leads the field around. His brother Yusuf was in the DTM earlier on this afternoon, did a great job in the first half of the race, ended up with a non-finish, but some very opportunistic moves. I think his younger brother will be looking to do something similar. Janis Fischer, though, he has done a few laps here before. There are some drivers who have raced here in other categories. None of them have raced in GT Masters on this circuit. The nerves will be jangling. We are now heading around turn 4, the Dutzendijk turn, and we head out towards the start-finish line in a few moments. The safety car will duck off into the pit lane, and we will be having an hour of racing ahead of us. You can see the clock has started already as a result of the extra formation lap. This is race 3 of a 12-race season. Welcome back to the Norisring for the ADAC GT Masters, and we are go. Salman Vega, a great start, leading the field in towards turn 1. The rest of the cars fanning out, and now the funnel into turn 1. There's a car high on the outside, going to get hung out to dry there if you're not careful. They all make it around the first corner. It's Salman Vega, Janis Fischer slotting into 2nd place. What a great start from Vega. Benjamin Height is there as well in the background. Tim Zimmerman, very sensibly, the drivers just tiptoeing around this early lap. You can make up places, but you can waste your entire day if you get it into the barrier. You can see the change of surface on the outside of the corner. Now Benjamin Height is challenging to the inside for 3rd place. So Benjamin Height is making a move on Tim Zimmerman, doesn't make it stick, and instead lets through the BMW. A great start from Igor Velilko in the number 10 car. So what a great start from that BMW, up into 3rd, no, I was gonna say 3rd place, but that's because Salman Vega has pulled away a monstrous gap at the front. So it was in fact 4th place for Igor Velilko in the BMW. You can see Kwanda Mokoeno just going a little bit wide in the corner. The car settled down into single file, but what a start from Salman Vega, disappearing off into the distance.
Thing is here, when you go for an overtake maneuver, Brian, you leave yourself vulnerable to someone that's following close behind as well. So sometimes, you know, you've got to be dead certain, no, you're going to be able to make the move stick. If you don't, you're going to get bit on the bottom.
And Tim Zimmerman in car 92 in 3rd place. Well, he's under pressure, but he's under pressure from the stewards. He's under investigation for an inaccurate grid position. The drivers are requested to drive through their grid boxes before they receive the green flag, effectively, before they're allowed to overtake, and it might be that he didn't do that. So that is under investigation. So our 3rd place car, who is currently challenging Janis Fischer for 2nd, under investigation by our race stewards, and through into the penalty box. So clearly he has been, and it's just flashed up on our timing screen, so taking it quickly. A penalty lap also. Benjamin Heites, also an inaccurate grid position. So 2 cars, cars 63 and 92, straight into the penalty box. They have to take it straight away. Penalty box is a 200-meter box on the exit of turn 1. They have to pass through that at no more than 50 kilometers an hour, and that is their penalty for an inaccurate starting position.
So there you can see the confirmation of those penalty laps. And the reason for the penalty laps is that it really does impact their race, but it's a little less impactful than a full drive-through penalty. Is that correct?
That is correct. The drive-through penalty really would put you to the back of the pack, but with the field this compressed, they have to take the penalty lap within 1 lap. Now, let's have a look here. You can see Benjamin Heites on the inside and the 92 car as well on the outside. Let's see, did they break rank early? Well, it was cut and go, but they did it, didn't they? They ducked out of line, and that's a harsh lesson learned, because that's cost them, well, normally about 5 seconds. We're looking at the move into turn 1. Everybody made it around. Good, sensible driving by these drivers, but the trip through the penalty box, well, it's dropped Benjamin Heites to last place. This is the view from Petru Umbra-Rescue in the HRT Mercedes into that turn 1. On the outside, Akwanda Mokoena. And it's a long way round on the outside. You can see the rest of the cars streaming through on the inside. He tucks back in into 9th place. Now you can see again, you see the queue of cars, and yes, actually, Heites and Zimmerman were both very quick out of the blocks. You saw them ducking out of line, and that is why they have had to visit the penalty box. It's a harsh lesson to learn. I bet they don't do it again in a hurry. Looking at the traffic jam that was into that first corner from the perspective of Tim Zimmerman. And it looked like a good start, but now he is down in 7th place. Benjamin Heites in 10th. Another look at the start there, and you can see quite clearly from that angle they did move out of position. In fact, Igor Velilko was quite eager as well, but the stewards have not deemed him to be at fault. Right, it is a 60-minute race plus 1 lap. We've had 6 minutes of that already. It looks like Eduardo Cosseteng may have had a bit of a moment running out on his own on the circuit. He's dropped back, so Eduardo Cosseteng in the BMW. Now look at this, a challenge for position. Tim Zimmerman trying to come back after that issue, and Benjamin Heites as well, running side by side into turn 1 and ducking back to the inside. So Tim Zimmerman and Benjamin Heites running side by side. Ahead of them, Kwanda Mokoena. They're trying to make up from that penalty lap and pick up some positions, and it goes the way of Tim Zimmerman. So Tim Zimmerman up into 8th place. Benjamin Heites a relegated position. As I was about to say, 60-minute race. There was an incident, so Eduardo Cosseteng had got together with Tim Zimmerman, and the stewards are going to be having a look at that. Now, all drivers will need to visit the pits at one point in the race. There's a pit window that will open for 10 minutes, and that'll open 25 minutes into the race. During that 10-minute pit window, every car will need to visit the pit lane for a mandatory stop and driver change. There is a minimum pit stop time. Now, let's have a look again, and Cosseteng actually did get spun around as a result of contact with Tim Zimmerman. This is the view from aboard with Tim Zimmerman. You can see the BMW under braking. Now, was he a little bit optimistic going into that corner?
Just a tad, I would have said.
He will say that the number 20 car braked early. I'm not defending it. Eduardo Cosseteng, first time on a street track. His protest will be he braked early into the corner. It is the responsibility of the driver behind not to make contact, but that will be his reason. I have no doubt about that. And the stewards are looking at it. We'll keep an eye on that and see whether there is any punishment that will be inflicted upon the Tim Zimmerman car. It's Salman Vega who has a 2.5 second lead of Janis Fitcher, and Igor Velilko once again making great progress in the BMW. And Finn Gersitz, who is just doing well in 4th place.
So just looking at the timing screen there, I don't know whether we've covered this.
That's the one we just saw. So now that is Tim Zimmerman, 3 visits to the penalty box. So he's going to have to do a visit. That is pretty devastating. That's the equivalent of adding 15 seconds onto his lap time. A lap that's as short as this, that's an awful lot. So Tim Zimmerman has been deemed to have caused the collision that spun Eduardo Cosseteng. So he will have to visit that penalty box for 3 consecutive laps, going through the box at no more than 50 kilometers an hour. It's a 200-meter box, and that really is damaging his afternoon.
Well, I have to say, I thought it was a slam dunk, to be honest with you. I'm not a steward, and I'm glad I'm not, but it looked pretty obvious to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is not great news for Jackson Evans, who will be sitting in that seat later on. He was delighted to have won the first race of the season. I saw him at the airport clutching his trophy, cradling it like a baby, and a big smile on his face. Getting a trophy today is going to be a whole lot harder, because currently running in last place. I don't know how many penalty laps Tim Zimmerman has done so far, but if he hasn't completed them yet, I think he's probably got at least one more to go, and that is going to drop him back even further, and certainly away from the possibility of a podium unless there is a big upset. Salman Vega well and truly in control ahead of Yanis Fichter and Igor Velilko.
What you can't rule out, though, is, of course, here at the Norisring, with the Armco barriers and the concrete barriers as well, there is always the threat and the risk of a safety car. Now, if he takes the penalty laps, gets it done and dusted and get them out of the way, if anything like that it would all of a sudden bring him back into the game, potentially.
Yeah, absolutely, because the cars will then be closed up, of course. Now, Finn Gare sits in 4th place. It has been a baptism of fire. He jumped into the seat fairly last-minute.com, learned the skills at Hockenheim. There's nothing like chucking you even further in at the deep end, because here at the Norisring, you're not just learning the skills of GT3 racing, you're learning street racing on a bumpy track with paving around the outside, which is, we're told, slightly banked and allows the drivers to carry just a little bit of extra speed round the corner. But you cannot make mistakes. Just 1 inch over the line. There's no gravel traps, there's no runoff area, there is just a solid concrete wall, and I have to tell you, that wall does not move.
No, funnily enough, it tends to have the opposite effect on the car that makes contact with it, that's for sure. But
funnily enough,
yes, it's not something that you want to be doing. So on board with Benjamin Ites then. Of course, Marco Mappelli is the driver that shares that car as well. Salman Vega, though, goodness me, 3.2 seconds up the road ahead of Yanis Fichter and Igor Velilko.
Yes, 1, 2, 3 looking pretty solid, but lots of challenges further back. Now, that is Quanda Mokoena. Benjamin Hites also challenging him to the inside. I don't think Quanda is going to put up too much of a fight in this instance. He very much wants to get that car home in one piece. He's going to hand it over to Dylan Yip, who he's sharing with. He's putting up a bit of a race, but Benjamin Hites has the inside line. He goes sailing past the Liquimoli by Team Engstler Audi, the car that has been run and owned by Franz Engstler, Franz's son Luca, very much in the driver coaching part. And look at him duck back to the inside. Oh, inexperienced? I don't think so. Quanda Mokoeno trying the switchback to try and get past. I think Benjamin Hites is in the Lamborghini, has the legs in this instance. But great stuff there, fairly audacious driving from Quanda Mokoena. As I was about to say, Luca Engstler, son of Franz, who is very key in this team, is coaching Quanda Mokoeno one-to-one. Has been driving with him in another GT series as well. A little bit distracted this weekend because he's racing in DTM. But whatever he's telling him, it's working, isn't it? Because Benjamin Hites, if he thought he was going to sail past the young South African, he had another thing coming, because Quanda Mokoena is fighting back. This is for 7th place. Look at this. Benjamin Hites in the Lamborghini. Quanda Mokoeno, I thought he'd move aside and let him through. Well, he got through, but now he's fighting back. In the background, another driver who's learning as he goes along, Eduardo Cossetang in 9th place in the BMW. Just keeping awake in watch, but wonderful stuff from Quanda Mokoeno. He just gets better every time we see him.
Absolutely brilliant. I just love it when someone thinks, right, yeah, you think I'm just going to let that happen, and he tries to come back, and it was a valiant effort, wasn't it? Unfortunately, he just didn't quite make it stick, and for the moment now, I would say that Benjamin has just gapped a little bit, and probably enough to build himself a bit of safety in that P7 position that he's in now, and putting the chase on now to Umbraresco.
So just ahead of Hites, as you've mentioned, is Petra Umbraresco, who is sharing with Maxi Goertz. I think it's fair to say that probably Maxi Goertz is more experienced and potentially the quicker of the two. But Petra Umbraresco, another driver who's learning this the hard way, but got a 2nd place in race 2 at Hockenheim last time out. As a result of that, is carrying an extra 10 kilos in success penalty. But great to have Maxi Goertz, who will be joining us in the 2nd part of this race and taking over the seat of that car. He will be homing in on Alain Valente, given time, who is in the 5th place. But behind, Benjamin Hites has now broken clear of Quanda Mokoena in that 7th place.
And in my opinion, is like on the end of a fishing rod, getting ever closer, Brian. Let's just take a look at this in replay. Ooh, nice drift there onto the paved area.
Look at the slide in the Audi.
Absolutely love it.
Great, and you can see the confidence increasing. Yeah, Quendo said, I can get closer to the wall. You can still get closer than that, but don't overdo it, mate, because that really would be terminal. So, here we go. Still, the challenge is on, and it's Benjamin Hightis closing in on Petru Rescue. I would suggest that the Lamborghini is going to be up with that Mercedes before too long. Benjamin Hightis, the more experienced of the two pilots, very much with his sights set on the 6th place. He's closed in now. Now, how much of a fight can and will Petru Rescue put up in that car?
Well, they're going for track position, aren't they? Why the heck? He's not going to just let him come through, you would think, and he'll stick his elbows out and try and make that Mercedes as wide as he possibly can to prevent the overtake. But as we looked at the gap evolution, although Benjamin, I think, making a bit of a mistake there, running high and wide through that turn and losing a bit of momentum. Has it given him, though, a little bit of a slingshot to go that little bit quicker? I don't know. Let's ride on board with him now through the Cholores. As you can see, you almost glance the BWT barriers and then onto that paved area, which is banked to maybe 1 or 2%, and now he's getting ever closer once again. So this is a fight that he's going on for P6 in the race, and I was going to predict a couple of laps ago it was going to be a couple of laps before he was on him. It wouldn't have been a long way out, because that's precisely where we are right now.
So will he be able to make a challenge? Overtaking here, not easy. We saw Tim Zimmerman visit the penalty box a little while ago. That has really hurt him. He is a long way back from the rest of the pack. And wait for the timing screen to update, but he's a long, long way back in last place. Now look at this from Benjamin Hightis, now putting the pressure on Petru Rescue. Maybe trying to force the less experienced driver into a mistake, maybe forcing him to just open a gap on the inside so that he can dive in. 29 seconds is how far back Tim Zimmerman is from the lead battle, so going to be getting on for a lap down before too long. Now, here comes Benjamin Hightis. Petru Rescue in that 6th place. Good, solid driving from Petru, but the Lamborghini now getting ever more impatient. I would suggest into turn 1 is going to be the best opportunity to overtake. The leader has just headed round turn 1, and now here come the rest of the cars. Petru Rescue taking a completely different line to Benjamin Hightis. Now into turn 1 they come, under braking, and still Rescue has that position. Hightis not close enough to do anything about it. He ducks, well, much tighter line to the inside. Now out of turn 1, out towards the chicane they come. It'll be under braking again, and is a challenge forthcoming.
But you can see there, when you rotate the car much, much tighter, you lose so much momentum, Brian. But now Benjamin Hightis is right on him, and the pressure has mounted to a almost a fever pitch level, hasn't it? Outside, then he'll try and get underneath the Mercedes. Watch this. He'll try and get to the inside now, carry a little bit more momentum, but I tell you what, this is very, very good defending from Rescue. Really impressed with this, but I think now Hightis is even closer going into turn number 1 than he was last time around. It's all very well being quicker, though, and being closer. You've got to find a way by, and thus far, that was Rescue just carrying too much speed into that, but is he just playing with Hightis here? Because he's got momentum on the inside line now, closing the door through the Cholores they go. Well, it probably took Benjamin a couple of laps just to psych him out and suss out where he was going to do it, but he's made the move.
Job done. Benjamin Hightis up into that 6th place. Now sets about Alain Valente, another Mercedes. So again, it'll be Lamborghini versus Mercedes. Now he's a little way up the road in the... Oh, the timing screens just update at the moment I look at them. But yes, Alain Valente is still about half a second up the road from Petru. No, I beg your pardon, 7.5 seconds up the road. Put the glasses on, mate. So he's got a bit of work to do to catch him up from there. So Benjamin Hightis has dropped some positions, but Petru Rescue comes back. So you think Maxi Gerns might have been teaching him a few tricks. So Petru Rescue back through to steal that position away. Benjamin Hightis back down to 7. Now fighting back side by side. This time he's back through. Is he going to make it stick?
I think he is, and I think that was a mistake that caused that. I just think just went in too deep, left the door wide open, and came back, but then all of a sudden he was able to retake that position, and I think he's got it up for grabs permanently now.
So as already mentioned, 7.5 seconds up the road is Alan Valente. So this could be as far as Benjamin Highties is going to go at the moment. But he now breaks free from the Mercedes behind. Still, Kwanda Mokoeno behind, just keeping an eye on that. Edward Kosseteng there as well. Tim Zimmerman still a long, long way back. It's going to be a long afternoon. He's still not given up, has he? Just when you think that Benjamin Highties has got the job done, he's going to pull away. Betru Rescue comes steaming back at him. Brilliant stuff.
Here in replay then, we can see it all over again, and you can see he was just too deep there in Moresco.
Yeah.
That was what enabled this to happen, and through it went. And then coming back underneath, and here we can see again, great that we are able to bring you these replay pictures. You can see this battle that has been going on for P6 and P7. It's been relentless for a couple of laps now. It's such a short lap here at the Norisring. Been so enjoyable to watch, and it wasn't all over at this point, as you can see. So down the outside then, which of course is the inside into the Choloresses, and the door was left wide open, didn't need inviting twice, and takes it. And there you can see the result of rubbing just a little bit too close to the concrete barriers. Really rather shatters not only your illusions, but the mirrors as well.
Well, let's hope the broken mirror doesn't bring bad luck for Benjamin Highties in that 6th place. He's fed up with fighting white Mercedes, I've no doubt about that. So great stuff from Petru Rescue, the Romanian driver who's come through GT4 in the last few years, and it's just fresh into GT3, part of the GT World Challenge Series as well last year, but still very much learning and on the street tracks. You just saw a shot of Salman Vega, who is some 6 seconds ahead of Janis Fitcher. How did that happen? That Mercedes absolutely dialed in. Igor Vanilko and Finn Gersitz, well, Finn Gersitz now falling into the hands of Alan Valente, so the 4th place coming under threat. Alan Valente, another of the Mercedes who's moving forward. So this is the battle for 4th place. Finn Gersitz, may I remind you, a driver fresh to GT3 racing from the more downforce related prototype racing. It's something entirely different in a Porsche. He did a wonderful job at Hockenheim, certainly stole many of the headlines, but he'll probably be quite happy to hand that car over to co-pilot Sven Muller when the pit window opens. The pit window will open in about 3 3/4 minutes. It'll remain open for 10 minutes, and during that period, every car will need to come in for a driver change and a mandatory stop. So Finn Gersitz doing all that he can to hold that Mercedes behind him for as long as possible until the pit window opens. Circulating in 5th place in the team use by Race Motion Porsche, the correct terminology for the number 91 car. And you can see how hard he's pushing. You can see the back end just stepping out slightly as he continues to press on. Alan Valente, a driver who has been on the scene in GT racing for quite a long time, came through Italian Formula 4, in fact, and ADAC Formula 4 in 2015, through GT4 Germany as well, but now has found his home in the ADAC GT Masters, challenging for that 4th position once again into turn 1. Still, Finn Gersitz, a good, mature drive, holding on to that position in 4th place. Alan Valente just tracking him. My colleague alongside me absolutely glued to the screens here. Such is the tension of this battle for 4th place. I've never seen you so excited.
It is, and the thing is, Norisring for me is a stage on which some brilliant entertainment happens, and motor racing, something that we love so much. And Mokoeno that we watch on board with now, 4th gear. I love these graphics. Look, you can see when they're using the throttle and the brake, and then you split the screen so you can see the driver inside the car and how that impacts and what it does to the car outside. Every single movement inside the car and how it translates to what the car is able to do out there on the track. We are but, what, 2 minutes away from the pit window opening?
We are, and I'd suggest that Kwanda Mokoeno will not be wanting to give up the seat of that car until the very last minute. He is getting better and better with each lap. You can tell he's enjoying himself, and he continues in 8th place. So great job from Kwanda Mokoeno.
Generally speaking, when it comes to these driver changes and pit stop windows, the drivers, they practice this, they rehearse it, don't they? They do it well. it's not beyond the realms of possibility that mistakes happen and the face of the race can change, Brian.
Yes, and unlike DTM, which we witnessed just now, there is a minimum pit stop time, 65 seconds, and it can be, you can lose time by being stationary for too long, but also if you go below that 65 seconds from pit entry to pit exit, you pick up a penalty, and that can really screw up your afternoon. So pit stop's really important. The team will decide when to bring the driver in. Potentially, if they're in traffic, they might want to bring them in and get back out on open track. They might want to maximise the driver that they perceive to be the fastest and leave them out for longer or get them in the seat sooner. But here, a lovely replay. Kwanda Mokoeno, what a great camera angle. You can see him concentrating, the South African driver, giving it all that he's got in the Liquimoli Team Engsler Audi. Really, really good stuff and a great camera angle. He continues in 8th place at the moment.
Seems extraordinary, doesn't it, that a driver, a young whippersnapper that you and I would call Luca Engsler, who of course is son of Franz Engsler, who has got so much racing experience. I mean, the Team Engsler and Engsler Motorsport been around for a long, long time, and Luca Engsler driving alongside him in another series, as you said, and also now coaching him as well. So the pit window is about to open, Brian, in 5 seconds from now.
Make that 2-1-0. Pit window is open. This is when the strategy will start to work. Now, I reckon the car 20, the Schubert Motorsport BMW, will be in quite soon. Eduardo Cosseteng, new to street circuits, will be handing over to Britain's Ben Green, who has a lot more experience around here. The Norisring, of course, he was in DTM Trophy a couple of years ago, and he will know his way around here. Now, Finn Gersitz, I said earlier that he would want to hand over to Sven Muller early on. Sven Muller, an experienced driver, the German driver who won last time out along with Finn, will be taking over a lot of cars coming into the pits. So in the background, we've got Petru Umbrarescu, Eduardo Cosseteng, as we said, going to be handing over to Ben Green. So 3 cars into the pits for the pit stop. Now, this is a heavily regulated stop. Only 2 mechanics allowed to work on the car. Another one with the lollipop. The seat gets hurled across the pit lane. Nice. Of course, drivers of a completely different build, so you have a seat insert to get you to the right height. You can't adjust the seats particularly. You can adjust the steering wheel and get the right height in that. Now, drivers into the car. So Maxi Gertz jumping in to replace Petru Umbrarescu. Maxi Gertz, who was the DTM champion a couple of years ago, knows his way around Norisring. He has got a big task. He was quickest in free practice. It's Maxi Gertz for Team HRT, who rejoins the track at the wheel of the number 3 car. Ben Green has jumped into the number 20 Schubert Motorsport BMW in place of Eduardo Cosseteng, and it's Sven Muller who's replaced Finn Gersitz in the team use race by Race Motion Porsche, and taking over Finn Gersitz in 8th place. So 3 pit stops done. We got green peas. Green peas are healthy and good because it means that they have not gone below the minimum pit stop time. Red pea is always bad news. Always report red pea, because that means that they have gone below the 65 second pit stop time. And my colleague alongside me has just had a nervous breakdown in the corner.
Utter. Right, loving these split shots. As I've said to you before, look how close they get to the concrete barriers. Absolutely brilliant stuff here. And as you said, Maxi Gertz, of course, full of experience, full of championship wins. He knows how to pedal one of these machines around the Norisring, and it is a special task pedaling it around here, I can assure you. So Maxi Gertz then bespectacled and hugely nice guy who's spending a lot of his time now broadcasting as well. You know, is often chosen as a race summariser because of the level of experience he's got. You're not mistaken. Send us your CV, Maxi.
Igor Vinulko into the pits in car 10, getting ready to hand over to Kim Louis Schramm. That BMW was mighty at the Hockenheim ring, and now getting to the pit box, and it is Kim Louis Norisring that we see ready and poised and there goes the seat insert, hurl it across the pit lane. In you get now. The outgoing driver helps the incoming driver to get buckled up, plugged in, everything in place. There's not a massive hurry. It needs to be done quickly and properly, but remember that 65-second minimum pit stop time. A little bit of advice handed over. There'll be a tap on the head, good luck, and he'll be on his way. Of course, a mechanic cooling the car in these hot conditions. We could do with him here, sat in front of us, really, couldn't we? So the fans there keeping the car cool, and then the race motion display on the dashboard will tell the driver when to go. He will want to hit the pit exit line when the clock strikes 0, and that is a problem pulling away. Now, I don't know whether there was another car coming or just wouldn't get the thing going, did he? So
I think they were just under the time, and he was held.
Well, let's have a look. He crosses the line and stops the clock at a plus 8.3, so lost nearly 8.5 seconds in that pit stop. So that you want to hit the line when it strikes 0. So that is one more car that is going to be a little way back. Now, that looks like Tim Zimmerman. Is that Zimmerman that's into the pits, handing over to Jackson Evans? Yes, it is. So Christoph Huber's team, not to be confused with the number 25 Huber Motorsport team, which is run by Reinhard Huber. So into the pits they come, now waiting, cooling the car. That wait, which must seem like an eternity when you are in a race. Now fire the engine up, because the engine has to be switched off when the driving change takes place. The indication will come in a few moments, and you watch how close to the line will they be when the clock strikes 0. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, keep to the speed limit, 4, 3, 2, there's the line, 1, bang! Perfection! Well, half a second, but
that was blooming brilliant.
Brilliant stuff. So Jackson Evans maximising that pit stop along with Tim Zimmerman. Rejoins the race, of course, had that penalty lap earlier on. So on the back foot now, Ben Green, experienced pilot, just ahead. Jackson Evans. Both of these pilots have done many laps here around the Norisring. It's Jackson Evans who looks to the inside of BMW. Don't make contact. So Ben Green in 9th place, Jackson Evans in 10th. There will be points paid to every car who finishes this race, but you've got to finish it to pick up those points. So Ben Green in 9th place, the BMW, which has looked so strong. Now Evans looking to the wide outside, ducks back to the inside, can't make it stick. It's still Ben Green in that 9th place, holding off Jackson Evans. Pit stop's done and dusted. We've still got 5 more cars yet to come in. I think Sam Vega is going to wait till quite late in the pit window because he still has an open track in front of him. Having said that, there is a back marker in the way. If ever you could call Maxi Gertz a back marker. But that continues on. The fight continues. Now, in comes the number 25 car. It is Janis Fitcher who will be handing over to Nico Menzel, another driver who also does broadcasting occasionally. Those who listen and watch GT Masters in German will recognise the name of Nico Menzel.
Who learned his craft from me.
Did he?
Nico and I, yeah.
Not the racing craft, the talking craft.
Yes, absolutely. My racecraft is pretty pitiful, to be honest. Nico Menzel, great driver, isn't he? So this, we're watching this underway then. Is this one going to be as timed to perfection as the one that Brian brought you just a few moments ago? Because that was absolutely awesome. 5 tenths, wasn't it? 5 tenths. I mean, you know, you have to time it well, absolutely perfectly, and they did that. So here we are, we're watching. When is Nico Menzel going to be released then? The engine is fired up once again. He goes on 13 seconds.
Right, here we go again. Counted down. I would just say they cannot back off and go really slowly to the line, because that would be deemed to be a penalty. So you have to leave the penalty box at the pit box at exactly the right time.
Oh, that wasn't
not quite so tight,
no.
1.9 seconds. Still pretty good compared to some, but they can't just back off and hold it by the line. They have to keep going at a minimum speed, otherwise they will be deemed to be blocking the pit lane. So it really is carefully calculated, and free practice yesterday would have been when they would have done all those calculations. There is our race leader, Sam Vega. He has got 2.5 minutes in which he needs to come in and hand over to Elias Seppinen. Elias, who is a very rapid driver indeed, a very good duo, this Vega and Elias Seppinen, always in contention for the championship, and I should think Elias Seppinen will be chomping at the bit, waiting to get into the seat of the number 48 Mercedes. Riding on board with Maxi Gertz in 8th place. Don't expect him to stay there. He is a driver on a mission, very experienced, pushing forwards.
Yes, the only way Maxi knows to go, isn't it? Maxi Gertz then He'll have done a lot of laps around the Norisring. He knows it inside out, and I really do think the track knowledge is critical, as Ralph Aron then is...
yeah, Ralph, I was going to say Paul Aron. Ralph Aron. Oh, my goodness. Right, that's a euro to charity. I've been talking about Paul Aron for years, and I keep calling Ralph Aron Paul Aron, and it'll stick by the end of the season. Look at this, the race leader. Well, he's going to try and put a lap on Maxi Goertz. And how cooperative is Maxi Goertz going to be in handing over that position to go a lap down? I don't think he's going to be very cooperative at all. He's only got to hold on for 1.25 minutes because I should think Sam Vega is going to be coming in any moment now.
He's got to, hasn't he? Because otherwise, well, you know, the consequences of missing the pit window are pretty terminal, aren't they?
They are very terminal. We've seen it happen in the past, and that's kind of a park it up and go home kind of moment when you miss the pit window. Clearly, they've wanted to keep Vega out for as long as possible. Now he peels off into the pit lane, unusually on the outside of the track. We've seen Quando Mocoeno hand over to Dylan Yip in the number 7 Liquimoli Team Exeter car. So the driver from Macau now at the wheel of the car, and he takes it over. But here comes our race leader. Now, he had such a big lead when he came into the pit, so they just need to get this right, as we see Benjamin Heites now handing over to Marco Mappelli, another very experienced GT3 racer in the GRT Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini. So Heites handed over to Mappelli. The door is shut and they wait. The pit window is about to close. Everybody has or is pitting, and Marco Mappelli fires the engine up. He's given the indication, and away he goes. Now, it seems to me, I don't know how close to the pit exit he is. Well, 1.4 seconds, that's pretty close, I'd say. Let's see where Elias Seppänen comes out in relation to the number 25 car. This is what's going to be critical, because Nico Menzel in second place will be trying as hard as he can to close up that gap, while the number 48 Mercedes is in the pit. Seppänen is at the wheel, he's on the move, he needs to get to the line. The good news is that he's got to the line well above the minimum pit stop time. The bad news is he's lost 3.4 seconds in doing so. So not a tight pit stop, but better that way than to pick up a penalty. I think that Seppänen should emerge well in the lead. Our leader currently coming around turn 1 as we speak, and rejoins the race in the lead. So Elias Seppänen carrying on where Vega left off, and Seppänen, a very, very rapid driver. We saw him come through ADAC Formula 4 a couple of years ago. He's made his debut in GT Masters last year, driving the Junior Mamba for Landgraf, and very rapid he was too, alongside Frankie Bird as his co-driver. But now with Samuel Vega, it really feels like sometimes you get a driver partnership and it feels just so right. And Vega and Seppänen have clicked from the moment they started racing together.
It's critical to get that dynamic right, isn't it? Some of them work, some of them don't. And to be fair, you're absolutely right that if they do click together, then, oh, look, Nico Menzel has got 7 seconds to try and find in the space of, what do we got remaining, 23.5 minutes of this race. That's going to be a big ask.
Well, without a safety car, near on impossible, but safety cars are certainly not out of the question. Now look at Maxi Goertz, he's pushing forwards, isn't he? So Maxi Goertz up with Kim Louis Schramm in the number 10 BMW. Goertz, we said he was going to be moving forwards. They've brought him into this to replace Arjun Maini, who's doing DTM. He's going to be doing a couple of others. He's going to be doing Sachsenring and Hockenheimring for GT Masters. This is his 127th start in GT Masters, so a very experienced driver, and now challenging Kim Louis Schramm, also experienced but not in a BMW, a driver who has been Audi through and through for many years, and now in the BMW, has taken to it exceptionally well, was very impressive at Hockenheim, but I don't know how impressive he's going to be with Maxi Goertz behind him, because Maxi Goertz is going to be itching to find a route past that big car in front of him.
And you can see he's already got him in his target sights. He's reeled him in like he's on the end of his fishing line. And it's a question of when, rather than if, he's going to make his move. So is it going to be right now going into this turn? Don't think he's quite close enough, but you can see the pressure that he is under, and he fell to that pressure. He's just able to close the door. But this is really playing into the hands of Maxi Goertz. It's the psychological battle as much as anything else. It's lose concentration for just a millisecond, and then like a viper ready to pounce, Maxi Goertz will be through. And at the moment, Kim Lewis-Ram is able to hold on to this. How much longer is he going to be able to do so? And of course, for Marco Mappelli, gives him the chance to escape up the road a little bit, Brian.
Yes, indeed it does. And just to remind you that Maxi Gerst is carrying an extra 10 kilos in that Mercedes as a result of the car, not him, finishing in second place at the last time out at Hockenheim. And you can potentially see that because when they were alongside each other, the BMW had the grunt to pull away. Now it happens again. Now, well, that was looked fairly easy. Maxi Gerst goes sailing through because Kim Lewis-Ram went very deep into the corner and really had nothing that he could do to defend from Maxi Gerst. Through he went, but that success penalty, you think, well, 10 kilos, that's nothing really, is it? It makes all the difference. Every last gram counts here. Let's have another look. Just the number 10 car going deep into the corner, maybe missing a braking point. Didn't put up too much of a fight, and Maxi Gerst was through. Maybe Kim Lewis-Ram has decided that discretion was the better part of valor, and choose your battles, don't put it in the wall, trying to fight for something that you're not going to win.
That's a fair point, and perhaps that was the strategic decision made there, because Maxi Gerst was always going to come through, in my opinion. So there he is. Next in his focus will be the car of Marco Mappelli, but that's a little way up the road yet.
Yeah, 2.1 seconds to be that, so he's got a lot of work to do there. There's still just a little over 20 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. Elias Seppänen, well, I have to say that Salman Vega has done a great job. It's a team sport. Whatever state the car is in, whatever state the tyres is in, you hand it over to your co-pilot. And what Vega has done has looked after the car, looked after the tyres, and created a massive lead, handed it to Elias Seppänen. He just, in inverted commas, just needs to bring it home. Of course, we saw in race 1 at Hockenheim the steering brake on the car as a result of a curb, potentially a collision with a curb. So it ain't all over until the checkered flag falls.
May I just throw a slightly curved ball at you here, in the hope that it will hit you? In that Nico Menzel has taken quite a bit of time relative out of Seppänen. Now, in fairness, we have got only 19.5 minutes of the race remaining, as quite a bit of tarmac was taken there.
It's Dylan Yip who's missed his breaking point, but carry on.
Yeah, the gap, which was just a couple of laps ago, it was 7 seconds. It's down to 5.8 now.
Wow.
We have only got 19 and a bit minutes remaining, but just want to make you aware of that Nico Menzel is on something of a charge, and Seppänen can ill afford to make any errors at all.
Nico Menzel, who comes from a great racing dynasty. His dad, who didn't hand him a racing seat on a plane, said, you want to race, you're going to have to fight for it. Of course, Christian Menzel, his dad, is a great racing driver in his own right. But he has made his own name in that car and has fought in the number 25 car and in all the cars he's driven before that. But Elias Seppänen, he doesn't give up without a fight. I have to tell you, he was mighty impressive and mighty close to the wall coming out of that corner. But Elias Seppänen will not just roll over and allow him through. And I think if he sees him in his mirrors, he will start to increase the pace. That's my prediction. I might be wrong. Using all the track and a bit more, I think so. We're running on board with Jackson Evans, still picking up the pieces after that penalty lap at the start, really on the back foot. Ben Green is behind him in 9th place. Another driver who's got a lot of work to do, having taken over from his co-driver. Dylan Yip has dropped back into 10th place. A real shame in the Liquimoli Team Exeter Audi, but he's another driver who's come pretty well straight into GT3 racing, in at the deep end. And Luca Exeter said, I'm not going to put through GT4 and all the rest of it. I want to get them in there, get them experienced, and get them good quickly. Really interesting strategy from Liquimoli Team Exeter.
Can I just say that on the last timed lap, Nico Menzel had taken 5/10 out of Seppänen. Seppänen has responded and upped the game a little bit. But just to say, the gap is now only just, well, there you can see the evolution on the screen in front of you, and that was the middle lap. Look, lap 47, where he took 4.5 tenths out of Seppänen. So he is slowly getting closer, isn't he? But I just think that it's all very well being quicker than the car in front, which that lap evolution would suggest he is.
Yeah.
Just 17.25 minutes of the race remaining. You've got to find a way by the car as well.
I reckon the team are just saying to Elias Seppänen, keep doing what you're doing. The thing they don't want to see as a safety car, because a safety car now would throw the proverbial moggy amongst the pigeons and close them all up, and that really would change things. But as things remain as they are, 5.197 between first and second. So Menzel, yes, he is closing in, but at the rate of close at the moment, he's not going to catch him in 16 minutes. But it could all change. It is Elias Seppänen who's leading the way from Nico Menzel. Sven Muller just very quietly up into third place. No fuss, no drama. Ahead of Ralph, not Paul Aron, in fourth place. Marco Mappelli in fifth. Maxi Gerst now up into sixth place and moving forwards. And he is ahead of Kim Louise Schramm, Jackson Evans, Ben Green and Dylan Yip. And did he get a little bit close to the wall there? I think he might have done. The mirror getting rearranged, and well, they built him strong for the mirrors to hold him onto the car, but the mirror definitely cracked. Let's have another look here. Oof, almost take the camera out. Great stuff there, getting nice and close to the wall. Might be some green paint left on that concrete there. Didn't quite touch it with the bodywork, but he came blooming close, didn't he?
You couldn't get closer, could you?
I think the mirror actually has now disappeared completely, hasn't it? So they didn't want to look at his mirror anyway, did he? That's
probably gone, hasn't it? Probably gone.
Someone nip down a Lamborghini and get a spare mirror. That's Marco Mappelli, an entertainer in the GRT Grasser racing team. Another of the teams also doing DTM this weekend and sharing the data. And I should think the data they're getting from Mappelli and Heighties will be very useful for them in the DTM camp. Absolutely. And vice versa.
Yep, you're right. All that data ingest is very, very important, and you're right that all of that will be taken on board and note made of. So we're watching the number 63 car then, currently running in P5 with Maxi Gerst running P6. And Maxi Gerst is some way behind, isn't he? And what have we got? Just under 15 minutes of the race remaining. You can see Maxi Gerst into the picture now as he runs underneath the BWT hoarding then that crosses the track here at the Norisring. And I think you're right, Seppänen is just playing with Menzel, isn't he? Because the gap has remained at 5 seconds, and it's just going to be enough to manage that, and that's all that matters, Brian.
And it's important to save something in the tyres, because if there is a safety car and you have burnt your tyres out trying to open up a 20-second lead, then you are no good to man or beast. What you want is to have some life in the tyres so that if a safety car were to come out, you could still defend and indeed fight for position. So Elias Seppänen holding on. In fact, he's opened it up by 0.3. 5.452 is the gap between first and second. Some great camera angles here. That looks like Maxi Gerst to me, looking up from the perspective of the pedals. A wonderful view and a camera off the side. He knows how to get it close to the fence. I bet he does that as he comes out of the corner. The view from the side of the car now braking into the corner, goes out wide, picks up a bit of curb, now back out wide to the corner. Oof, so close. Absolutely inch perfect from Maxi Gerst in the number 3 car, heading out towards the Scholler S curve, and that is turn 2, around into turn 3, and out he goes towards turn 4, also known as Duitsendijk, the Duitsendijk corner. Brilliant stuff. Maxi Gerst still pushing forwards. He is still a long way back from the car in front of him. 4.3 seconds is the gap between him and Marco Mappelli, who is up ahead. So a little over 13 minutes plus 1 lap to do something about that gap. And he continues to press forwards as hard as he can. Again, you can see him focused. Only takes one little slip and suddenly it's game over. One moment and against the wall and it's 0 points. Of course, tomorrow Maxi Gerst will be qualifying that car, so he'll be the one who will be doing the qualifying session tomorrow morning. And I would wager a bet that Maxi Gerst will have that car somewhere on or very near the front row. Elias Seppänen crosses the line, 5.145, so very consistent, the gap between him and Nico Menzel in second place. Sven Muller just quietly getting on with it in third place ahead of Ralph Aron and Marco Mappelli crossing the line. Then the driver we've been looking at, Maxi Goetz, ahead of Kim Louis Schramm. And then Jackson Evans and Ben Green. Now, Jackson Evans continues his charge forwards because he is up with Kim Louis Schramm. This is for 7th place. A little look to the inside. Nothing going on here at the moment. Maybe try to push Kim Louis Schramm into a mistake. Jackson Evans last race here in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. So in a Porsche around this circuit, it was a couple of years ago, but he has done a few laps around here. The driver from New Zealand, who is very useful indeed, has his eyes on that 7th place. I think in his head it's damage limitation after that penalty for co-driver Tim Zimmerman at the start of the race. But he's doing what he can. Points being paid all the way down to last place at the moment in ADAC GT Masters. Now, Jackson Evans a little bit far back from the BMW, continuing on their way and out under, braking towards turn 1 they come. And still Jackson Evans can't find the route past. And I have to say, I think Kim Louis Schramm just positioning that BMW exactly where he needs to. But now Jackson Evans closer than he was before. There is a slipstream to be had. I thought originally there wouldn't be on a track of this size, but there is a draft here, and Jackson Evans is very much in it. He's trailing the BMW. Now, what will he do here as they head towards this corner under the heavy braking? It's the high-speed, flat-out section of the track. And now the heavy braking. Evans still behind at the moment. Still Kim Louis Schramm holding on to that racing line, still very much as you were, but now Jackson Evans even closer, out onto the start-finish line they come, and heading out towards turn 1. Still Evans tracking every move from the BMW, flat out they come, then a little kink to the right, then heavy braking, he ducks to the inside. Now there's a big gap there under braking, can he slow it down? Will Kim Louis Schramm dump back to the inside? He tries to, but now it is a drag race, the two cars running side by side, but Jackson Evans finally stealing that place away. It's 7th place for Jackson Evans. He had been building that one up for several laps. He finally gets the job done. Now, can he make it stick? Will Kim Louis Schramm try to come back at him? I think Jackson Evans has got this one signed, sealed, and deliver up into 7th place. Ahead of him is Maxi Goetz. Going to be a little bit out of reach with a little less than 10 minutes of this race remaining. But great stuff from Jackson Evans, putting his experience of the Norisring to very good use. Let's have another look there. On board from Jackson Evans, you can see that big gap, and it looked like Schramm was looking to close the door, and then he kind of thought twice about it, didn't he? You saw the little twitch, and that was it for Evans to come through. You see him just turn in and then go, oh, there is a Porsche there in that gap. Maybe not a good idea to shut the door, because that would have been 2 DNFs, almost certainly, if those two had got together. And then Evans around the outside. It was then that drag race out of the corner, side by side. It was Porsche versus BMW, and Jackson Evans stealing that position away. Here's our race leader, 5.259 seconds, 5.204. So Elias Seppänen still controlling the pace ahead of Nico Menzel, Sven Muller. So it is 5.259 last time between 1st and 2nd, and 7 seconds back to 3rd place, Sven Muller. So pretty well spaced out. No major battles at the moment on the track. I think Maxi Goetz up to 6th place. Looks about as far as he's going to go in this race as well.
I think you might be right there. Even a driver of the quality of Maxi Goetz, you know, where he is relative to Marco Mappelli, that might be a big ask. However, there are still 8.5 minutes remaining, and as everyone says, anything can happen, and most likely will at the Norisring, to be honest with you. A fantastic battle, and just to listen to you describing that battle just a few moments ago over a much, much lower place, P7 and P8, it's extraordinary.
Well, we all looked at race 1 at Hockenheim. Everybody said, well, it's not that many cars, it's going to be dull. It was one of the best GT Masters races I've seen in ages. And again, the fights up and down the pack. It really is so competitive. The balance of performance, meaning that the cars are very, very equal, whether they are front engine, rear engine, or mid-engined. And some great racing up and down the grid. I have to say that if Elias Seppänen and Salman Vega do go on to win this race, which does seem pretty likely at the moment, they will be lumbered with an extra 20 kilos tomorrow. Not in qualifying, but in the race, and that will seriously hamper their efforts. Second place will be lumbered with an extra 10 kilos, and third place, if it continues to be Sven Muller, will be an extra 5 kilos.
Yeah, that's a tidy sack of potatoes, isn't it, that goes on the car?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to have to carry 20 kilos around with me when you think that every gram counts. Riding on board again with Maxi Gertz. I don't know if that is the local residents that have messed up his screen or whether that's damage to the screen. Whatever it is, though, he is continuing with no problems at all in 6th place. You can see from the gaps there, though, he's a long way back from the leader, some 27 seconds back from the leader and some 6.4 seconds back from Marco Mappelli. So I really do think this is as far as Maxi Gertz is going to go. As already mentioned, though, I would suggest excuse me, I would suggest that with him qualifying the car tomorrow morning, it'll probably be a front row start, because he has been very rapid all along. So this is only half the story. We get to do it all again tomorrow. Qualifying tomorrow morning is about 9 o'clock local time, I think, and the race is similar time tomorrow as well. And it is spectacular here around the Norisring. It is a big crowd of people here enjoying race 3 of a 12-race season for the ADAC GT Masters, the new generation of ADAC GT Masters. We're starting small, but from the small acorns are going to come some big trees. We've already got some names that are lined up to join the series at the Nürburgring next weekend. Yes, less than a week until our next GT Masters gig. We're really looking forward to that one already. So the grid is going to grow from here, and the GT Masters getting mightier and mightier as time goes on.
Back with a vengeance, that's for sure. Seppänen now 4.9 seconds to the good. Nico Menzel is not, he's not losing losing his quest, but it's going to be a big ask. What have we got? Just 5.5 minutes of this race remaining. I have to say, Seppänen just doing a very good job. And there, once again, as you look at the lap evolution, lap 61 and lap 62, Nico Menzel is not giving up on the fight, Brian, but he's going to need some outside assistance, I think, to really make it work.
Yeah, the racing drivers never give up, do they? Once a racing driver, always a racing driver. Push to the end, whatever happens. But with 5 minutes remaining, he needs something out of the norm now to happen to have a chance at challenging the leader. The Finnish driver in the number 48 car, the Landgraf Motorsport Mercedes, is currently leading the way. It has been a solid and so far flawless job from both he and Salman Vega. One of 3 brothers, Salman, Yusuf and Hamza. We haven't seen Hamza racing this year, but of course Yusuf in the DTM as well. Very rapid indeed. And the youngest brother, Salman Vega, along with Elias Seppänen, both young drivers, but both absolutely love their racing. Both very much at home in the Mercedes AMG GT3, and proving that here with a lead of nearly 5 seconds now over Nico Menzel's Porsche. So, 4.5 minutes less than, plus 1 lap remaining. You can see that Elias Seppänen is not pushing hard now. He's not getting out close to the wall. There is Nico Menzel in the background. He can see the gold and white Mercedes leading the way, tantalizingly in vision, but catching it is a whole another deal. Yeah,
conversely, I think you're absolutely right. Seppänen is just managing this perfectly, whereas Nico Menzel is throwing absolutely everything at it and will not give up until the checkered flag is flown. Because, you know, things can happen, and as you say, once a racing driver, always a racing driver, and you never take and accept second if there is any shadow of a chance of being able to make that P1. Let's have a look at the live gap when they cross the timing line then, and it's a 4.652 with just 3.5 minutes plus a lap remaining. I mean, Seppänen is just tantalizingly playing with him.
Well, your comment about Menzel throwing caution to the wind is borne out by the fact that he's just set a personal best in Sector 1. So he is doing qualifying laps to try and keep up and catch up with Seppänen, but it's not really doing much at the moment. There is Sven Muller, another very experienced pilot, a great mentor to Finn Gersitz, and I have to say that's another combination that's worked really well. The young, inexperienced Finn Gersitz and Sven Muller, the very experienced Porsche driver, and he has been mentoring and tutoring Hockenheim. I saw him walking the track with Finn, showing him the lines, showing him everything that he needs to know. Wonderful to see the old guard kind of passing on the wisdom and the knowledge to the new up-and-coming drivers, the drivers that are going to be making the headlines for the next 5, 10, 20 years in GT3 racing.
You're absolutely right, and yes, it is something to be admired, isn't it?
Can I just say, Jackson Evans hasn't given up. Purple in Sector 1 and Sector 2, the quickest of anybody.
Wow.
We are in the final 3 minutes of the race, and Jackson Evans is putting qualifying laps in the 7th place to try and catch up with car in front. We're getting a replay of the mirrors taken at who would want to be a wing mirror on a day such as this. There are scratches and scrapes all around the walls here at the Norisring, and I think you just keep going until the mirror's scraping. That's how far you want to go.
Yeah, it acts as a nice measurement tool, really, doesn't it?
Like one of those things you have on your bike to keep cars away from you.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Yes. Move on.
Yeah, moving on. Elias Seppänen leading the way then with 1 minute and 3/4 plus 1 lap. And it is the 3rd race of this 12-race season for the ADAC GT Masters. We're riding there with the number 63 car, Marco Mappelli. I think everybody fairly spaced out now, so unless there is any major upsets, I think this is pretty well going to be the finishing order that we see at the moment. But there are still less than 90 seconds plus 1 lap, but there is still time to go. It is a short lap here. Elias Seppänen, just keep doing what you're doing and bring it home in one piece. Keep it out the barriers. Don't do anything stupid. Don't get overexcited. And it could be Elias Seppänen who is on the cusp of winning his first ever race in the ADAC GT Masters. And I should think, well, we saw him win in ADAC Formula 4, I think the smile will be massive, along with Salman Vega, also looking to have that victory alongside him. So our focus continues on Nico Menzel, just slogging away, never giving up. Less than 30 seconds coming up now, plus 1 lap of the race remaining. And we will see that checkered flag. So it will be Salman Vega's first win as well, if things remain as they are. His best result being the 3rd place at Hockenheim, which was the last time out.
By my reckoning, 2 more laps before this ADAC GT Masters race will be concluded, as Seppänen then still manages to hold Nico Menzel behind by some 4.3 seconds. Now he has got back-marking traffic ahead of him. Now,
oh, look at Ben Green sliding the car around the corner, just getting out of the way. That's great driving from Ben. He knows he doesn't want to interfere with the lead battle, so Ben just getting the Schubert Motorsport BMW out of the way. And we're going to have another look at it. Look at this, drifting, there we go. Put the power on, smoke the tyres just a little. You get the feeling Ben's just having fun out there, don't you?
It's nice to watch, isn't it? It's great. It's not necessarily the quickest way through the S's, but enjoyable for us to watch. So we're into the plus 1 lap then for our drivers in the ADAC GT Masters then. And Elias Seppänen then with a margin of some 4.2 seconds, and it's kind of remained at 4.2, 4.4, 4.5, and you know, he's just looked absolutely in control all the way, and heading towards the checkered flag now.
So around the Scuola S, he comes out towards turn 4 for the very last time. The Dutzendijk turn. It's Elias Seppänen who took over from Salman Vega, who put the car on pole position. They have led pretty well every lap of the race. ADAC GT Masters, welcome back to Norisring. Welcome to the top step of the podium for Elias Seppänen and Salman Vega. Nico Menzel, he fought all the way, along with Janis Victor, a good, solid 2nd place, a good, solid points haul. And then in 3rd place, another great drive from Finn Gersitz, along with the master, Sven Muller, filling out the 1, 2, 3 on the podium. Celebrations all around, good, solid driving. We didn't even get a safety car. The GT Masters once again showing the way forwards here at the Norisring.
Very, very tidy indeed. Well done to Salman Vega, Elias Seppen, and then the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Landgraf Motorsport race winner here, race 1 at the Norisring. Done it in style with a very, very good race indeed. Did not put 1 foot wrong during the entire 60 minutes plus 1 lap. So brilliant job done. We'll bring the car into the pit lane. Big thanks to the marshals. Look at this. I just love the flamboyance with which they're throwing the flags around, and still thousands of spectators here to enjoy the race action. And why would you go? Here's confirmation of the classification.
It's Salman Vega and Elias Seppen who take the top step of the podium ahead of Janis Fischer and Nico Menzel. Finn Gersitz and Sven Muller rounding out the 1, 2, 3. Alain Valente and Ralph Aron solid in 4th place ahead of Benjamin Ites and Marco Mappelli. Petru Abarescu and Maxi Gertz in 6th ahead of Tim Zimmerman, and Jackson Evans in 7th place after that penalty lap. And Igor Velilko and Kim Louis Schramm in the BMW coming home in 8th. In 9th place, Eduardo Cosseteng and Ben Green for Schubert Motorsport. And then a good driving, Kwanda Mokoeno and Dylan Yip picking up experience, getting faster and faster. 10th place, they get the points, they made it to the end, and that is what counts. Into Parc Fermé we come. It is a Mercedes, and think about that, from a Porsche and a Porsche. The Porsches have been very strong this year. You get the feeling that the balance of performance might be adjusted as the season goes on, but Mercedes taking their first win of the season in the ADAC GT Masters in the hands of the very impressive Zeppelin and Ovega. So, out of the car we come. There's Nico Menzel and Janis Fischer. Oh, can't get the door. He's locked the doors from the inside. Press the button on the remote. That's it. Oh, all right. Try the other side then. Can't get out of the car. You're gonna have to crawl across, mate. The door is jammed. Have you been bumping into things? This is a very undignified way of getting out of the car. Go on then. Right, there we go. Elias Seppen finally making it out of the passenger seat. Finally on the top step of the podium. Great stuff. So he slams the remaining door shut. There we go. Point situation. Finn Gersitz and Sven Muller to the top of the point standings ahead of Janis Fischer and Nico Menzel. The troubled time in the race at Hockenheim. Now a distant memory for Elias Seppen and Salman Vega. They're into 3rd place, and they are championship contenders.
Ollie Runchko, who works, of course, for the ADAC and works in the press department, and we get on very, very well with, acting as a doorman then. Did you notice that as he was trying to help him get out of the blooming car? It's extraordinary.
Just pull him out, any old how. I tell you what, it's a good job that door didn't jam when the pit stop window was open, because
that would have been a nightmare.
That would have changed things a bit, wouldn't it? So here we go, some nice slow-mos, or not slow-mos, replays of the winner. There's the slow-mo of Elias Seppen receiving that. What a great shot that is. We had this at the Red Bull Ring last year, and it was Ben Green and Niklas Kruten, and had the pit stop, and rather than the door not opening, they couldn't keep it closed, and Niklas Kruten was driving the car one-handed, holding the driver's door shut.
Wow.
And they went on to win the race. I mean, skill much? Yeah, I think so. But doors aside, it's Elias Seppen who, despite the undignified exit from his car, takes the win. He will be over the moon. There's Dylan Yip, who was driving along with Kwanda Mokoeno back into the pit here in the beautiful shade of the trees at the Norisring. Dylan Yip, who, well, his door works well, doesn't it? Locks it up, walks away, blip, blip, and back to the garage. There is Elias Seppen with the Landgraf team receiving the congratulations. This is, I say, a win that's been a long time coming, because we saw him last year, always there or thereabouts in the Junior Mamba, and now finally getting that top step. Some notes being exchanged. There's Sven Muller on the right, and Nico Menzel in the middle. There's Finn Gersitz on the left-hand side, and just always trying to listen in to hear what is being said. Not much, I think it's all in German, so hey-ho. That was a nice idea while it lasted. Also, there is Janis Fischer, of course, so the Porsche drivers. I wonder if there is an element of data being shared amongst the brand the drivers in similar brands. There is your third place, Finn Gessit, Sven Muller for team used by Race Motion in the Porsche, the car that has been pretty dominant so far this year in ADAC GT Masters. Another Porsche in second place in the hands of Nico Menzel and Janis Fischer for Huber Motorsport, the team that is run by Reinhard Huber. But the car that steals the headlines, it's gold for gold. The top step of the podium for Elias Epinen and Sam Navega for Landgraf Motorsport in the Mercedes AMG GT3. So the bad news for the number 48 team is they will be carrying around that weight penalty tomorrow, not in qualifying, but in the race, and that will be a challenge for them as Toby Shimon introduces the drivers on to the podium. There is the third place. Well, it's the second place because Sven Muller and Finn Gessit are up there already. Nico Menzel and Janis Fischer into the second place, and the dynamic duo of Sam Navega and Elias Epinen on to the top step. And Landgraf with plenty to cheer about. The mightily successful team now send up one of their representatives as well to receive a team trophy. Now it's time for the national anthem.
Gratulation an unseren Laufsieger und Außenhänden des Vorsitzenden des Motorsportclub Nürnbergs, Wolfgang Schlosser.
So the German national anthem echoing around the Nuremberg region. Wolfgang Schlosser from the Motorsport Club of Nuremberg. And Peter Baumann from Liqui-Moly awarding to second place. But the winning, the third place trophies for Jessica May from Nuremberg Women. Give the trophies for third place, and then the team trophy being awarded to the Landgraf Motorsport team. Points to the trophy. Lovely, lovely trophies. The audience in the sunshine have enjoyed race 3 of the 12-race season for the ADAC GT Masters. We get to do it all again tomorrow, but it's position reverse. Driver number 2 doing the qualifying, and driver number 1 taking over after the mandatory pit stop. I would wager it's going to look very, very different on the podium at the end of tomorrow's race. So, as the celebrations start on the podium, we're going to take a look at a few highlights from the race. We say here from the Norisring, join us again tomorrow for what will be race 4 of the season. Will it be a Mercedes? Will it be a Porsche? What will Maxi Gertz do in his qualifying? We're going to find out in the ADAC GT Masters race 4 here from the Norisring tomorrow. We'll see you then. Bye-bye. Season of ADAC GT Masters. stuff.